My name is Garnet, and I'm going to give you an introduction to the Data Coordinating Center. Give you a little bit about our history. Our roots are all in the Women's Health Initiative, and some of you know that well, and some of you probably less well. So let me describe it to you a little bit. It's a study that began in 1992, and it was funded by the National Institutes of Health to evaluate 3 interventions for prevention of chronic diseases in older women. And we evaluated hormone therapy, a low-fat diet, and calcium and vitamin D supplements on chronic disease. So it was considered a primary prevention trial. In addition, we did an observational study in parallel. We recruited in the 40 centers that we coordinated 160-some-thousand women. And we're following them till today. So it's in almost all measures, it's a much bigger effort than this. So we feel confident that we can manage this setting. We are trying to leverage as much of the learning and resources that we gain from doing WHI and apply them to this. It's a bit of a challenge to know how to downscale the effort that we used for that huge study for this, going from basically 4 protocols running simultaneously in 40 sites, 107,000 women, to mostly one protocol at a time. We hope to have 2 running at the same time, but that's about all, in 5 sites with 200, 300 women total. But we're pleased at how much we've been able to borrow from WHI. We tried not to make it obnoxious, so you'll see WHI, Ms. Flash for us has its own identity, but you'll probably hear us slip and talk about WHI because, for many of us, it was our career. We've spent our whole life there. So that is background. We did coordinate the Ms. Flash grant submission, and it was an interesting process, and I actually kind of liked it. I'll give credit to our NIA colleagues. Many multi-center studies, the various sites all compete against each other. NIH then chooses the sites to be a part of it. And this way, we got to all come together first and put in our proposal together. So the different sites weren't competing against each other, and I think it developed a more collegial atmosphere, at least in comparison to a couple of other experiences I've had. So we're happy about that. That was part of ours. Each of the sites got to choose. There are various networks competing. We know that. We don't know how many, but we know that there were others. And each site could be in one or more than one network. And we're very pleased that the people that we asked agreed to go on with us. That was a really interesting process to get to see all the ideas out there and to pick the 5 sites that you all represent and go in together and make it seem like it existed even before it did. And it did have that, I'm looking at Janet, it did have a sense that we existed as a unit before then. So we were lucky to be chosen and happy to be here today. So what do we see our roles? So the Data Coordinating Center we see as providing leadership and expertise in the places where we think we have specific qualifications, clearly in clinical trial design, analysis, and implementation. In WHI, we had both behavioral and pill-based interventions, so we have sort of the basic mechanics worked out for how to do that. We bring that here. We certainly know how to run multi-center study operations. We have expertise in women's health research, so these are different kinds of outcomes than we did in WHI. We were looking at incident disease, and here it's different measurement issues. So we're bringing in, we're relying on our other investigators for some of these things. Janet in particular brings the expertise in using hot flash monitors that women wear, and others are bringing other things. We also bring the information technologies for multi-center studies. So we serve as the hub of communication for the site. We serve as the study archivist. We keep all the documents and sort of the official versions of things, and generally serve as study coordinators for anything that goes across centers. So the expertise that we represent, biostatistics, epidemiology, behavior, we have nursing and some laboratory expertise. That's mostly our faculty, and then on the staff we have a variety of resources and intervention technologies, quality assurance, project management, coordination, things like What do we see as our primary responsibility? This is really easy, to ensure the success of each network trial. That's really what we're about. And the decisions we make, we're trying to say, for this trial, how can we make sure it's successful? And now we have a protocol that we've all agreed to. And it's been approved both by our Independent Data and Safety Monitoring Board and our IRB and some of your IRBs. So that's in the process. It will be approved by the time forward. Our role is also to standardize data collection across each sites. We'll be learning about the common procedures developed through both our resources here and a committee, the implementation committee that works on those. We have common questionnaires and forms to record all the elements that we require to be standardized needs to be collected on our forms. And that was also developed with a joint effort between our Common Elements Committee and the Coordinating Center. And then we provide the data management tools. We also provide other things that both for standardization and also for efficiency of operations. So in addition to the protocol and consent, we do the central training. We provide some materials for recruitment. Those don't necessarily have to be standardized. It is for efficiency. We provide some to you. We take care of providing you with blinded medications and laboratory supplies. We're responsible for the trial monitoring. We will focus early on recruitment, watching the numbers come in. We will look at timeliness, completeness, and accuracy of data, adherence to protocol, safety, and efficacy of interventions. As already described. And then what do? This is supposed to be the fun part for us, and the analysis and reporting of the data. We're the only group that sees data from all sites. At least in the database, you'll only be able to see the data from your own site. We see it from all of it, put it together. We prepare the analytic data sets for network use. There's often a lot of sort of not just data cleaning, but defining new variables. So the hot flash diary doesn't, and we have to manipulate that data to come out with a score for the woman. We do those kind of things. Conduct primary analyses and then help the investigators write the manuscripts. We also provide the compensation for trial-related costs. So we have staff who've been working to develop a cost model for each of these trials at each participating site, and we'll be reimbursing each site using that cost model to inform it. And then we monitor the overall budget because we have a budget in which we're supposed to do all 5 of these trials. So we have to make sure that money really isn't for us, it's money to do the trials. So we need to make sure that we don't spend it all on the first trial, we need some at the very end. So that's our goal, is to make sure we can deliver all 5. We've already covered a lot of these. On the left of the faculty, you can see the expertise a little bit there. And on the staff, you'll get to know pretty well over the next day, I believe. Lynn is a person we're relying heavily on for training.
No pressure, huh?
Yeah, she's been the one that's produced the most. So but we want to actually thank her now for getting us to this point. Let's see. And Mike Tenson will also be, he's our database manager, will be doing training on the database. He actually has a few other people working with him that we're pulling from WHI for small percent efforts, but he is sort of the face of the NIST-Flash database, so you get to know him. And then Scott Davis, the Network Services Manager, he is responsible for our website and some of those applications. So I was meant to say that we're, one of the big things that we do in trying to do a multi-center study is standardize. And sometimes there's tension with different sites because they have a way of doing things, and the network actually has to have another way of doing things. We have to have one way of doing things across sites. It doesn't mean that the way you're doing it at your site is wrong. It's just we need to standardize. And so we acknowledge that right up on the front, that for things that we do, not everything has the same priority to us, but for the highest priority things, we require the most standardization. And so we may have to have some discussions as we go, but that's one of the conflicts that can arise as we're doing multi-center studies. We just need to know that.